AFCON is not just football. It is identity, memory, and controversy. In this documentary, we revisit the AFCON controversies that continue to divide opinions, not to inflame emotions, but to understand why these moments mattered so deeply. The penalty that broke a nation. Brahim Diaz versus Senegal. Penalties are football's most cruel test. The distance is short. The goalkeeper is ready. And the weight of a nation stands behind the ball. When Brahim Diaz stepped up against Senegal, it was more than a kick. It was expectation. AFCON knockout matches are unlike any other games in the world. Here, one mistake does not just cost a point, it can cost the entire tournament. Players carry not only the weight of their club careers, but the hopes of an entire nation. Every touch, every pass, every sprint is scrutinized by millions watching in stadiums, living rooms, and across the diaspora. In these knockout games, the difference between glory and heartbreak is measured in inches, milliseconds, and mindset. Crowds in AFCON stadiums are a force unto themselves. They don't just cheer, they push, they guide, they weigh on players. Every chant, every drumbeat, every whistle adds invisible pressure. Players' body language becomes an open book. A slight slump in the shoulders signals doubt. A stiff posture can mask anxiety. Coaches read it. Opponents read it. And the crowd knows immediately. In African tournaments, silence can be louder than noise. A single moment of hesitation is amplified 1,000 times. African tournaments magnify pressure in ways that global audiences sometimes underestimate. Every match carries the weight of history, of nations that have struggled, survived, and dreamed. In Europe, players may face pressure from fans and media. In Africa, players face generational hope, pride, and expectation all at once.
They are living, breathing extensions of the nation itself. Fans chant not just for goals, but for identity. Players perform not just for trophies, but for memory and meaning. This is why AFCON knockout stages are not just games. They are tests of mind, heart, and legacy. When the penalty was missed, the reaction was instant. Silence in one half of the stadium, explosion in the other. Aftermath. Media narratives. Online criticism. Why one moment can define a player unfairly. In African football, a missed penalty doesn't end at the final whistle. It follows a player home. Goalkeeper. Mind games and the towel incident. Goalkeepers live on routine, gloves, steps, towels. Everything matters. Why goalkeepers use towels? At first glance, a towel in the hands of a goalkeeper seems simple. Just a piece of cloth to wipe gloves or the face. But in reality, it is much more than that. Goalkeepers use towels to maintain grip, yes, but also to control their own rhythm and focus. In the chaos of a penalty shootout, every small ritual matters. Every motion becomes a way to ground themselves in the moment. Some goalkeepers carefully shake, fold, or adjust their towels before every penalty. To fans, it may look like habit. To the player, it is a way to create stability amid the storm. In high-stakes games like AFCON knockouts, a towel is not just cloth. It's a tool for concentration, a buffer against distraction, and a small pocket of comfort in a stadium filled with tens of thousands of expectant fans. Psychological anchoring before penalties. Anchoring is a psychological principle. Humans use reference points to stabilize decisions under pressure. In football, goalkeepers use every ritual, every object, every movement to create their mental anchor. The towel is part of this anchoring. By touching it, adjusting it, even glancing at it, the goalkeeper tells their mind, I am ready, I am in control, I am grounded. Penalty takers, on the other hand, are constantly reading these cues. A slight hesitation, a quick glance, a routine, all of these signal confidence or doubt. This is why even something as small as a towel toss, like the incident involving Hakimi, can momentarily disrupt a goalkeeper's anchoring, forcing them to recalibrate in milliseconds. In African tournaments, where crowd noise is deafening and the stakes are immense, psychological anchoring becomes as important as reflexes. During the AFCON final, a surprising moment occurred when Achraf Hakimi reached for the Senegalese goalkeeper's towel and threw it into the crowd.
What followed shocked many viewers. Senegalese player rushing into the crowd. The stadium fell silent for a moment, a single tense heartbeat as the towel disappeared into the crowd. Then, without hesitation, a Senegalese player sprinted toward the fans, weaving between rows of spectators. Every step was urgent, precise, determined. It was not just a chase, it was a statement. This is our goalpost, our match, our pride. Nothing will take it from us. Retrieving the towel, the player reached into the crowd, grabbing the towel amidst cheering, clapping, and gasps. Fingers closed around the fabric, a small but symbolic victory. In that instant, it was not just a towel. It was control regained, focus restored, a statement of resolve in the middle of chaos. Fans held their breath as he pulled the towel back toward the pitch, balancing between celebration, respect, and urgency, returning it to the goalpost. Finally, the player returned to the goalpost. With the towel secured, he placed it carefully on the goalkeeper's stand, signaling, "The match continues. We are in control." The crowd erupted. Cheers, applause, and laughter mingled in a single wave of relief and joy. The moment became a symbol, not of a minor distraction, but of African football's passion, resilience, and drama. In a matter of seconds, tension turned into triumph. A small act, yes, but one that would be replayed, talked about, and remembered long after the final whistle. Analysis. Was it gamesmanship? Was it distraction? Or was it simply football psychology at its rawest? The laws of the game regulate actions, but intentions are harder to police. When AFCON almost collapsed, mid-match, AFCON has witnessed moments when emotions threaten to overpower the game itself. In the heat of AFCON knockout stages, emotions often run hotter than the African sun. Several times during tense matches, coaches have made the shocking decision to order their players off the pitch, directing them toward the tunnel. It is a move that communicates panic, protest, or sometimes strategy, but to fans, it feels like the game itself is being threatened. Players hesitate. Referees pause. The stadium falls into an uneasy silence as the crowd waits to see if the match will continue. Referee confrontations. The tension does not stop with the coaches. Referees, who must maintain order, sometimes confront players and coaches face to face, trying to reassert authority. Shouts, gestures, and heated exchanges fill the space between the pitch and the sidelines. Every argument is amplified by the stadium, a referee's decision questioned by thousands, a coach's protest magnified by chants. Matches nearly abandoned. In extreme cases, AFCON matches have come within moments of being abandoned entirely. Players stand frozen, officials huddle, fans hold their breath, unsure whether the game will resume or end in chaos. These near-abandoned matches remind us that African football is not only about skill, it is about passion, pride, and emotion, all on display at once. In these moments, football stops being tactical and becomes emotional warfare. African football is played with heart, and sometimes the heart beats too loudly. Referees, VAR, and decisions that won't die. No controversy lasts longer than one involving a referee. VAR delays, confusion, and fan distrust. VAR delays, video assistant referees, or VAR, were introduced to make football fairer, but in African tournaments, they often add a new layer of tension. Every time a review is called, the stadium falls silent. Players stop mid-action. Coaches pace nervously. Fans hold their breath. The delay may last seconds or minutes, but in the high-stakes world of AFCON, those moments feel like hours. A single pause can change momentum, rattle players' confidence, and amplify emotions, making what should be a tool for fairness a source of anxiety. Confusion around decisions. VAR doesn't just pause the game. It can confuse players, coaches, and fans alike. A handball called after multiple replays. A goal disallowed that seemed perfectly legal. Each decision is analyzed, debated, and questioned. Players glance toward the referee for answers. Coaches gesture frantically. Fans shout at screens or cameras. The match becomes a puzzle of rules and interpretations. In these moments, football is no longer just skill. It becomes psychology, strategy, and patience tested under fire. Fan distrust. Perhaps the most lasting impact of VAR confusion is fan distrust. Supporters question whether the referee is fair, whether technology favors one team, or whether external pressures are influencing outcomes. This distrust does not fade after the match ends. It carries through social media, news outlets, and conversations in living rooms and stadiums around the world.
In African tournaments, where football is more than a game, every perceived error or delay becomes part of the narrative fans carry with them for years. Not every controversial call is corruption. Some are human error, made under intense pressure, watched by millions. But in AFCON, where trust is fragile, even honest mistakes can feel unforgivable. The fans who became the story introduced Lumumba. Among the noise and controversy, one figure stood out, literally. Michel Kuka, known as Lumumba, stood through 90 minutes and beyond at AFCON. He stood not on plastic seats, but on memory, on the unburied dreams of Congo. Senegal celebrations at home and abroad. Senegal street celebrations, Dakar and beyond. When the final whistle blew, Senegal exploded. The streets of Dakar and around the world transformed into a sea of jubilation within minutes. Cars stopped in the middle of avenues. Drivers honked in unison, creating a chorus that could be heard across neighborhoods. Flags waved from balconies, windows, and even rooftops. People climbed streetlights and buses, their faces painted in the national colors, red, green, and yellow, shouting, singing, and dancing. Children ran through the streets, unaware that they were witnessing history. Elderly citizens smiled quietly, knowing they had waited decades for this moment. Young adults drummed, clapped, and celebrated with friends and strangers alike, all united in a single heartbeat of joy. This was not just football. It was a release of national pride, decades of near misses and heartbreaks culminating in a single unforgettable night. AFCON belongs to the fans long before it belongs to the players. Why AFCON controversies never die. AFCON controversies live on because AFCON matters. It matters to nations. It matters to identity. It matters to history. These moments are debated not because Africa loves chaos, but because Africa loves football deeply. Which AFCON controversy still lives in your mind? Tell us in the comments.